Hi, and welcome to another stonking great book, and this is just physically stonking great book as well. This is book two in a series. It's called A Sacred Storm, and it's by Theodore Brun. And I was very lucky to have read and reviewed the first book. And although this book does stand alone, I would really recommend reading the first book because I do think all of that backstory and all of that kind of information really adds to the richness. I mean, they're very rich books anyway, but I do think you'll benefit. You'll enjoy it more, I think, if you've read the first one. And and I'll link in the comments the link to that one. It's another brilliant book. I mean, don't drop it on your toe, obviously. And I have to admit, this kind of length of book makes me a little bit nervous, but it's such an action-packed book that there's really no point at which there's not a word I would take out, if you know what I mean. It needs to be that long, but it doesn't feel long when you're reading it. So it didn't take me any longer to read because it's just constantly moving. The story and the characters are constantly moving, and I think that makes it a really quick read, you know, because you want to always know what's happening next. It's it's excellent. It's as good as the first book and potentially better because it's just moving you forward in the story. So I think I enjoyed it more than I did the first book, I enjoyed the first book hugely, so that's not a bad thing. It's moving on. We're following a single guy, and so the first book is his early life, and we're kind of moving on to where he is now. And there's some characters at the end that he meets at the end of the first book who are kind of the main feature in this book, and and they really come to life. And the people I thought I wouldn't like, I really didn't like. There is also a very shocking part at the end. We lose a character who I was particularly fond of, and I was genuinely shocked. And I tweeted my displeasure to Theodore. It just shows the kind of quality of it, really, that it's not. It's quite a deep book, you know. It's not a sort of surface level character book. It's quite a deep book, and I think you almost need that real loss of an important and a meaningful and popular character, because it adds the richness and reality, well, a bit of reality into this. If you like Vikings, if you like Game of Thrones, if you like kind of that epic sweeping. There's a lot of fighting, quite a lot of bloodshed. There's also a fantasy element to it. So there's also the sort of ancient stories and ancient people turning into eagles and things. So it's got a beautiful sort of lyricism to it. You know, it's a very easy to read book. And I think the quality comes from the obvious passion and knowledge that Theodore has from his studies. So he studied this period very intensively, and I do think that comes through the sort of the historical aspects of it, and the. I don't normally read notes at the end, actually, but I did read the notes here just because I was interested in where some of the. I mean, there's a particular event that's very distressing during a funeral. And I found it distressing to read, and I kind of wanted to know if that was an accurate way in which a funeral would have been managed. And it was, and actually he had chosen to leave out some elements that were even more shocking. So it's really interesting from that perspective. It's not a period of history I've ever studied. So it's been in sort of interesting on that level as well as being a great story. I've also found it interesting about how they, you know, what they wore and how they ate, and the sort of hierarchy of and the feudal nature of Scandinavia. So it's a cracking book. You will definitely enjoy it. There's nothing not to like about it, really. It's fairly bloodthirsty, so just have that in reserve. Have a little bit of yeah, just be mindful of that. But none of it is. I mean, there's scenes that if you said to me, you know, I've got a book and it's got some torture scenes in, and it's got this, that, and the other, and I would say actually that's probably not for me. And I think I actually put on my review request that I don't review things with this in, but the quality of the writing is such that I've coped with all of those elements well, and it's not been gratuitous. It's been totally part of the story, and so I would thoroughly recommend it. And there will be a third. It ends in that kind of, you know, and he sails off for his next adventure. So I'm waiting. I don't know how long we're going to have to wait, but there is more to come, and I would love to read it because it's just such a cracking series. So it's called A Sacred Storm by Theodore Brun, and I would recommend buying it.